I'd like to welcome everyone to our February meeting of the Board of Education. Do you have the roll call, please?
Mr. Bova, President.
Here.
Mr. Olson, Vice President.
Present.
Mr. Fry.
Present.
Mrs. Lasich. Here. Mr. Tanzer.
You stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Jordan, I'm going to give this over to you because we're going to deviate a little bit from the agenda.
Yes, sir. We wanted to bring this in front of the board this evening. We've been keeping you folks updated on the progress of negotiations with our Bus Drivers Association. And if you remember, it's been a couple months now. It was asked for by the bargaining unit to bring in someone from the outside, a fact finder, to make sure that somebody unbiased can come in and take a look at proposals not only made by the Board of Education, but again by the bargaining unit. And if you remember, we agreed to that. We thought it would be a good idea instead of just one-sided on either end, that we bring somebody again coming in and not having any ties to the school system or bargaining unit to take a look at the data. Well, that fact-finding information was then just brought forth in front of us here this week. And what you have in front of you is a resolution. And what I'm recommending at this time that we adopt this resolution. We actually are in agreement with the fact finder's information. We thought it was very fair. And again, with good open dialogue all along. Can't say that the process has been stagnant or inappropriate or, again, bad feelings, at least from our end. We think it's been very much of an open dialogue and very well done. We appreciate the offer, and we took it with the fact-finding, and we're accepting of it. So in front of you tonight, we have a resolution accepting the recommendation of the fact-finder in SERB case number 2014 MED 40544. And that's what's in front of you tonight.
Should it be read?
It should be read. Yes.
Whereas fact finder Margaret Nancy Johnson has issued recommendations on February 6, 2015 in the SERB case number 2014 MED 040544 involving fact finding between the board and the Canfield Bus Drivers Union, and whereas the Canfield Bus Drivers Union has rejected those recommendations and notified the board and SERB of the same on February 11, 2015, and whereas the board is desirous of accepting the recommendations made by the fact finder in the aforementioned case, resolved that the board hereby declares its acceptance of the fact-finding recommendations set forth by Margaret Nancy Johnson in said case. Resolved further that the superintendent is authorized and directed to immediately take necessary steps to certify the board's decision to the Canfield Bus Drivers Association and to SERB. Do I hear a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question, maybe a point of order on this. That it doesn't state anywhere in this document, it says board. Should it say the Canfield Local Schools Board of Education, hereafter known as board, then we don't have our name in here anywhere. Is this simply a recommendation? Is it a legal document?
It is a legal document. We had our representation take a look at this.
I would suggest that
legal counsel look at it, and he certified that it was right to the point what we needed.
But it refers to the board. And I would like to see if it's possible to add the Canfield Local Schools
Canfield
Board of
Local Schools
Education.
Board of Education.
Then hereafter known as board, and then you don't have to change it.
We can adjust that at this point and then adopt what your recommendation is.
You can amend it.
I can amend.
I'd like to make an amendment to here.
So on the front line, first line also, would you like it there?
Just the first.
Okay.
Wherever it says the board the first time, which is the second line, I believe.
Yep, that first sentence there.
I'd like to make an amendment to correct the language so that
Between
it
the
states...
Canfield Local Schools Board of Education and.
Yes,
And
hereafter
then hereafter.
known as the board,
Yep,
and
yep.
then it can do that through.
Do you have that, Patty?
So I'd make a motion to amend. Thank you. Is that, who made the motion?
Thanks for pointing that out.
You made the motion.
No.
I made the motion, yes.
Will you accept the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second the motion. There you go.
Patty, you got that down?
Mhm.
Do we have to vote on my amendment?
She's
We have to have a second on that first one.
We did.
We did.
We did? On the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. I'll
I took
vote
care
on
of
the
all the
amendment.
legalities right there when I seconded.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzer?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, we
you.
still have a resolution out there. That was
No.
for the amendment. That's going to take care of the whole thing.
That took care of it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All righty, let's move on then. We have the principal's reports.
Good evening. Things are going very well at the high school. First off, we just want to recognize our own teacher, Chris Jennings, did a TED Talk about 2 or 3 weeks ago down at Youngstown State University. And what he talked about was our students' summer project that they did that involved looking at Youngstown and looking at literature about Youngstown to discuss and plan why Youngstown hasn't come back as strongly as some of the other urban centers that lost a lot of the mills back during those days. And it was a great project, and he spoke about that at TED Talks, and he featured a lot of the work of our students, which I thought was great. You can find a link to that on our website, and it's also viewable on YouTube if you want to see what Mr. Jennings spoke about. Additionally, our high school conferences will be held this Thursday from 3 to 9 p.m., and we're using, again, for the second time this year, an online scheduling software so that our parents can go and select the times that they want to meet with our teachers, rather than have to call and be given times that may or may not work for them. So, very successful in the fall, and we're looking forward to another great night coming up here. We recently had our ESC consultants in the building working in the different content areas to help our teachers with the impending PARC and AIR assessments. And it was really great because they actually got to be hands-on with our students and walk our students through some of those platforms so that they could experience what that test might feel like that they're going to be taking over the next several months. Additionally, our sports teams are doing great, as you probably know, and we're entering into tournament play. So we look forward to following our teams through tournaments. And of course, our speech team remains undefeated, and they're just doing a great job this season. Lastly, I think this is right, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Montalban, but both of our National Merit Scholar nominees,
Yes.
is that in here?
Okay.
I will not take that.
It's okay.
That's all right. Thank you.
Nice try, though.
I'll just get right to that situation there. We had, two of our students were semifinalists for the National Merit Scholarship Fund, and both of them are now finalists, so we're very, very happy to announce that. That's a very, very high honor all across the country. Amy Goddard and Alyssa Karinsky are both seniors. Alyssa is the daughter of our own Mike Karinsky, who's in the middle school. And it means a lot for scholarship money. It really, really does. Opens up a lot of doors. That's about as high as honor as you can get in academia in high school. So we're very happy about and proud of that one to announce that. We have, on February 19th, 8th grade orientation will be coming up. It's in the auditorium. This will give 8th graders an introduction to the scheduling process and really their first official contact with the high school. We'll go through and discuss really from soup to nuts on all the things that are going to occur to their students as they enter the high school. It's been very successful. We would invite all the board members if you wish to attend. It's a really good evening. You get to meet a lot of people.
When is that again, please?
It's the Thursday, February 19th. And it's at 7 p.m. in the evening. It's important that our board knows that every month we have a building leadership team that we meet with. And the building leadership team is a group of teachers, and basically we meet together to discuss ways to improve the school, to improve education, all facets of the high school. And it's a really nice conduit, it's a nice give and take, where teachers can come and give suggestions, we talk about issues. We meet every month, and we've done that all year long, and we will continue to do that. And that's called a building leadership team. So it gives the teachers a chance to talk to us about issues and things like that.
Do you ever
Yes.
invite students to that?
We have our own student.
You never put them together, though?
We don't put them together, but we do have the students come in, and we do meet with them. We meet with the senior, I'm trying to think how to word it, the senior class officers and various leaders from different groups in the school, and we do articulate with them also. On February 7th, that was last Saturday, it's important to note that we had an outstanding turnout for our Sweethearts Dance. We had over 400 students attend. That was the highest I think we've ever had. Pretty cold winter here, pretty miserable time, and it gave 400 kids a chance to go out and have a really fine evening. It's probably one of my favorite dances because the kids are all dressed up, and they just did a great job. I mean, we had 400 kids, we had 5 chaperones, myself and a couple other teachers, and they just did a great job. Mr. Holman and Mrs. Reed were our senior class advisors. They're the ones that put it on, and I can't say enough about both of them, how much they give to the school and to the district. Very proud that we're one of the few schools in the area that we actually have 4 official school dances. And we also have, of course, our Halloween dress-up day, our Spirit Week. So we feel there's a whole lot of activities for our kids to get involved in. And I think that really sets us apart. Recently, I met with our PTO. Their officers came in, and we had a nice meeting, and we're discussing future projects. And one thing we're really looking at the high school is to continue the work of the cafeteria remodeling. And we want to do something with that front hallway as you enter the school, and we want to make it look inviting, something to say, welcome to Canfield. Excuse me, this is Canfield High School. So we've got a lot of ideas, and PTO is very interested in helping us do that. We're now spending a ton of time, as I'm sure everybody knows, on state assessments. And we just strongly urge everybody, school board members, Canfield residents, to really look at the state-mandated tests now and what's being asked of our students and our teachers, our staffs. And we continue to put large amounts of time and effort to give our students and staff the best chance to be academically successful on these. And we just want to make everybody aware of that. You probably read a lot in the news about these tests. There's a lot of information out there. So that's the high school.
Thank you.
Good evening. It's been 6 months, and I'm enjoying life every day at the middle school. I was asked by Mrs. Banfield not to talk too much, so I'll keep it short and sweet here. Teaching and learning. Under the direction of Mr. Tullio, constantly exploring different math programs. Last week they explored the Carnegie Math, and that was on February 6th. All students grade 5 and 6 finished the second round of benchmarking assessments under the guidance of Carol Young. Technology and next generation testing. We actually did a dry run, which we wanted to see if nearly about 500 computers could work at the same time. Worked very well. We are working out some kinks with George Malich just to see what needs improved by the time we start the test. We also had the teachers take a survey to see what they thought.
That wasn't the night we lost power everywhere, was it?
No.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the night before we lost about 140 computers, so it was a little crazy. Public relations. Parents' newsletter letter will be sent out February 20th. Very positive. Parent-teacher conference went on last week, February 5th, and actually today. Very good turnout. April 2nd, we will have students versus staff basketball team for a fundraiser for Hoops for Heart. We're constantly making positive phone calls to the students and parents, just knowing what amazing things they're doing. Barry, it was amazing to see you 2 weeks ago out playing with our kids. It was Friday, came out, The kids loved it. They even asked today, when we're going to do it again. So our 7th and 8th grade girls are actually in the championship. 7th grade today. Tomorrow, the 8th grade girls at home at 5 o'clock. Congrats to the middle school Power of 10 team. Grade 7th and 8th grade finished first place. Very proud of them. Students 5th grade, Lego Robotics still going and going strong. And Mrs. Holly's class are building a drone, and it is amazing to see the kids that are so enthused about this, and they're coming to me every third period. Will you please come up and check out what we're doing? So I'll be eager for you guys to come up and check out what's going on at the middle school. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time tonight. I will just echo what Mr. Flood said. It's hard not to wear a smile when you walk through the hallways in Canfield schools. I mean, we truly have an amazing school system, and you have to appreciate that every day. We have amazing students that really are above and beyond what you're going to find anywhere else in the country, and I truly believe that. Some of the things that we had going on recently at CH, we just finished up last week with our STEM week, and just feeding into the robotics teams that are going to come up in the years in middle school and high school. It was amazing seeing the kids get excited about science, getting excited about math, seeing their faces light up when they get to put on that lab coat and put on the goggles and look at some experiments happening right before their eyes. Our PTO spend countless hours working to prepare that, and they really went above and beyond. We owe a lot of credit to Hilltop. Hilltop's actually the school that started that program, and our PTOs work together as they continue to modify and revise that. So, again, just an amazing opportunity for our kids. We also had, this week, our Jump Rope for Heart, and this is the sponsor of the year to help the American Heart Association, and they raise funds that get donated. We had the pleasure of having Mr. Jordan, Mr. Tullio, even Mr. Mullane stopped in for a little while to jump rope with some of our kids and hang out. We had an amazing time, and the kids are having fun every single day. We have one more day of that coming up tomorrow as well, and the kids are going to love every minute of it. We have Valentine's Day programs. Our parties are going to be going on tomorrow. And this is another one of these events where the kids' creativity, or parents' creativity, I'm not sure which it is, but really comes to the forefront. The kids make Valentine's boxes that, honestly, you could probably put on display in an art museum because they are that elaborate, which makes me question where exactly they're getting made and who's making them. But aside from that, the kids have a great time. It truly is a lot of fun. PTO, again, sponsors that entire activity and enjoys that fun time that they get to spend with their kids making those boxes. So I know Mr. Mullane had fun making a Super Mario with his son, so it's a lot of fun. We're going to have fun. That starts tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Also tomorrow we have teachers that are going to be going to visit another school system to look at another math curriculum. Mr. Tullio has been organizing all these visits to give our teachers an idea as to what some of the other high-performing districts in the area are implementing for math programs that are aligned to the standards that we teach. So we're going to be going and taking a look at that tomorrow. Our students are also being benchmarked in reading as well under the direction of Carol Young, and we're going to be sitting down at the end of this week to go through a lot of that data, see how our students are performing, and make sure that if they are struggling, we provide them with reading or math services that they're going to need to be successful and close some of those gaps that may have formed. We continue to have training on the statewide testing that's going to be coming up very, very soon. Our teachers went through training today. The county came in to help teach them how to administer those assessments, but our students are also going through training with that as well, just to prepare them for what's to come to ensure that they're able to be successful on those technology-based tests. We had parent-teacher conferences. Again, that was a big success. We also have interim reports that are going to be coming up soon. In addition to that, Mrs. Dankovich, our guidance counselor, arranges Valentines for veterans, and she goes through and has the students write Valentine's cards that she can send off to them. She also has a pile that she's not going to send off to them because of some of the things that they say. But that being said, it's a lot of fun and our kids really enjoy it. It's nice to bring a smile to some of those other people's faces. But that's just a little bit of what's going on at CH. We always have a lot of other things going on as well, so feel free to stop by anytime. But thank you.
Thank you.
one of the nice things of following Travis is I just go down my list and check off the things that he said that we're doing the same. First of all, happy 100th day of school. We celebrated 100 days of school at Hilltop today. It was a theme. We've got some pictures that we'll be posting tonight on Twitter and on the website where our kids counting hundreds of items. One group of kindergartners built a tower out of red plastic Solo cups, and we got a picture of them. They were very proud of that. So very nice day seeing the kids, especially the kindergartners, really enjoyed 100 days. Just seeing those kindergartners go from day one of school to day 100 and see the changes in them and the things that they are able to do now is really amazing. Our kindergarten staff does an outstanding job just getting those kids from just raw clay to where they're at now. It's really neat. I want to thank Donna Horn and Kristen Fox from the Mahoney County Educational Service Center for spending the morning with us yesterday, working us through administration of the park exams. I think just the more we can expose our teachers to what's going to happen, the calmer they get and more comfortable they get with what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Our fourth graders took a practice park assessment in math on Thursday, January 29th. They took a practice air assessment in social studies today. Third grade students took a practice math assessment yesterday on the park, on the Chromebooks. And things seem to be going well. The Chromebooks are performing well. We've only had a couple issues here and there, and we're working through those with the help of George Malich and Mike Williamson. We are also completing our mid-year reading benchmarks and analyzing that data. I want to thank our PTO for the 20 new smartboards that they purchased for us this year. We are almost finished installing those. Tomorrow or Friday, we will have Turning Technologies come out, and they'll be giving one-on-one training to our teachers to work those Interwrite boards. About 15-minute sessions. We have people who are novices all the way to people who have been using them for a long time. So we wanted to individualize and customize that instruction based on teacher ability level. Our monthly newsletter, The Hilltopper, was sent home on February 3rd. Interim reports will be sent out on February 20th. We have report cards. They went out on Friday, January 23rd. We want to congratulate the 66 third and fourth graders who received high honor roll. That's all A's at Hilltop. And the 86 students who received honor roll, which is A's and B's. Again, high academic expectations for our kids, and they performed very, very well. Parent-teacher conferences were held last Thursday, February 5th, and again this Monday, February 9th. We had a lot of parents come out, a lot of good communication between parents and teachers. One other thing, tomorrow our Valentine's Day parties are started at 2:15, so you can start at C.H. Campbell and see the boxes that they have there, and then come over and see the Valentine's Day boxes that we have. And again, to echo Mr. Lavery, the effort that goes into these Valentine's Day boxes is amazing. And our kids and or their moms do a great job. Thank you. I'm sorry, and dads. I never built one personally, so I shouldn't. Somebody who did.
Anybody have any questions for the principals? Really appreciate the work and effort that you put into this, and there's one thing that stands out, and I know all of us sitting up here really appreciate, and that's the passion that you have for your jobs. You know, you can see it in your faces and what you say, and we thank you for that. Moving on, presentation.
If we want to dismiss that.
I didn't want to dismiss it. You want to.
Go ahead. We've got some ball games and parent-teacher conferences, and some things to supervise tonight.
My daughter Nellie's out there for help on games. She was like, cannot worship God. She's so impressed with your school. She's enjoying it. She loves it. Okay.
Moving on, we have the presentation of the minutes from the January 4th meeting, which was a regular session, January 20th, the work session. And standard operational procedure is that we do not read the minutes, but we do approve them. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
A discussion of the minutes that you don't see. Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Mr. Tanser's left us, not because he's angry, but he had to be somewhere else. Review the treasurer's reports for January. Ms. Kessler?
Yes. I have no comments on the first financial report by fund. Second report, the check payment register. On page 3, you go down about 10 from the bottom, Mahoning County School Employee Insurance Consortium for $246,000. Our prescription, dental, vision, and medical is all combined now for the majority of employees, and that is our monthly payment. So it's a new large check. Wanted to point that out to you. No other comments on that report. Appropriations are going along as expected. 7 months of the year have passed, or 58%, and you can see we're at 61%. So we are on target with the budget after 7 months. Outstanding purchase order list on page 8, the bottom are the new items that you have not seen yet. And then I wanted to point out one item on page 12, about the middle of the page, Millcraft paper for $21,000. This is a truckload of paper for the entire district, and that should last us a little under a year. We did get quotes from 4 different vendors prior to awarding the purchase order to Millcraft paper. Any questions on any purchase orders? I know a couple of you called in and already asked. The investment holdings report. Did have a Fannie Mae that was called this month for $750,000, so that was replaced, the 2 bottom items, with a home savings CD and another Fannie Mae, and you can see those rates are a little bit higher than what we've been getting, so that's good news. Any questions? If not, we need a motion to approve the financial reports.
We have a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Next item of business, the comments. Do we have anybody signed up?
No.
No one signed up. Okay, we go to new business. Personnel.
Thank you. It is recommended that we accept the resignation of the licensed employee, that's your exhibit number 1, Sherry Creighton, CHS business teacher, effective July 1, 2015. Sherry will be requesting retiree hire at a future date.
Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Go ahead.
Discussion? No discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
It's recommended that we hire the following 2 classified employees: Donna Doman, transportation aide, returning off of a RIF status, approximately 2.33 hours per day, 4 days per week at $13.04 per hour, effective February 12 to 15. And Scott Stack from CHS afternoon custodian to CHS daytime custodian, effective February 12, 2015.
That's just a reassignment.
That's just a reason.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we need... Go ahead.
Second.
Do we need a motion to cover Scott Stack or just for Donna Dog?
Just for Donna. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you.
Sure.
Roll call?
I didn't hear the second.
That was Lee.
Sorry. Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Under the heading of new business, on the second page, personnel, the hiring extracurricular exhibit number 2.
Yes, it's recommended to hire the following extracurricular employees: JV baseball coach, 0.5 times a contract, Brian Finnegan, at $2,061, and 2 volunteer baseball coaches at no salary, Ken Turpak and Nick Donnell.
Your motion to hire.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Wait, I got a question.
Question.
The volunteers, are they under the same requirements to obtain the necessary paperwork from the state that's required of all coaches?
They are not to be around any of our youngsters without it. That's correct.
Do they have it?
They do. They would not be on this sheet without that information.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Roll call?
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
Yep. quite a large list of approved substitutes, and there are a few in here pending background checks, and they will not be brought on board to be with youngsters until that information is accepted. Again, there's 17 individuals there, several classified and a couple licensed employees. You'll notice several classified employees. Many of these folks that were coming into the office mentioned that they were coming in because they noticed that we did raise the substitute custodian salary. It was a federal mandate, but we decided to, if you remember, add a few extra cents onto that per hour. And it's nice to have a pool now, to have some substitutes. But I'm recommending to approve the following substitutes, classified and licensed employees.
Do we need to read their names into the...
Do not.
Okay. Do we hear a motion to approve the substitutes as presented by the superintendent?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you. Just a quick question. How does this process work? Do people just make application, they come in, are they recommended? How do you guys handle it?
Well, obviously, as you can tell, there's an application that they can either get off online or come into the office and receive. And then they fill this out, and there's qualifications that they have to follow. If they're a licensed employee, obviously they have to have their license or complete to be a substitute. And then if there would be a need for a specific driver's license to transport youngsters, that has to be complete before they're brought on board. And then other requirements that need to take place. If there's any concerns at all, we check references. If we have a conversation with the individual, and then we definitely get feedback and evaluate them as they're coming in. And if we see somebody that's doing a good job for us, they will be returning to the positions.
Thank you.
Sure.
They all have the background checks.
All of that certification is done, yes.
Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Item number 2 under new business, the approval of request for summer school.
Yes, we're recommending the approval for summer school classes. That's your exhibit number 4, A, B, and C. CHS, Math, Science, and Social Studies remediation. That'll be the first week after we're out, June 9th through the 19th of this year. CVMS, the 9th through July 2nd. That's a little bit longer. Again, that's your exhibit 4B. C.H. Campbell and Hilltop Elementaries are both going to have some summer school offerings, July 6th through the 10th. Again, that's 4C.
Do I hear a motion to accept the superintendent's request for summer school?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Well, I'll second since they tied.
Any discussion?
No, thanks.
I'd like to just mention one thing, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We're going to continue to see how we can utilize facilities and have some additional offerings for kids, not just remediation, but maybe some enrichment activities for youngsters throughout the summer. We're now trying to recruit some staff for that, and that's not as easy as one might think. But if there's some people out there that are interested in creating some courses, we're definitely interested in having that conversation.
I'd like to see an ACT prep class.
ACT prep class during the summertime.
I have one comment here about the remediation. I hate that word. Is there a better word?
Intervention?
Intervention.
Academy?
Oh, well, we're not going to say that.
Well, let's expand the offering a little bit, maybe.
Intervention sounds good,
Yes.
if it fits the bill.
Okay, do we have a roll call?
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
I do have one question about this math remediation. It specifically states in this letter about its remediation for the OGT. Does that apply to current juniors only?
Youngsters that have not been successful up to this point, that have already taken
where was
the
that
course.
cutoff?
Yes.
Where is that cutoff? Now,
Grade what?
Sophomores and juniors.
sophomores have taken OGTs this year. This is the last year for OGT? That's my question.
At this point, I mean, again, we still want to stress there can always be some shuffling with those next generation assessments. Yes.
But so this remediation is for current sophomores and juniors?
Correct.
And then we have to see what happens with the freshman class.
And we're going to see what's going to transpire over time here. Yes.
Third item under personnel is the approval of Success by Six summer program at Hilltop Elementary School.
Yes, recommending the approval of the Success by Six program at Hilltop. That's going to be July 6th through the 24th of this year, exhibit number 5. And as you notice on that, it's for incoming kindergartners that, again, need some intervention prior to kindergarten. We're very fortunate to have the United Way step forward there and assist in the payment.
Do I hear a motion for the approval of the Success
I have-
by Six?
How many
That's
kids
later.
usually? Oh,
That's
sorry.
later.
I'll move. Accept.
Second,
Second.
now discussion.
How many kids usually come to that?
Couple classes. Some, I mean, it could be as large as 12, 15.
Oh.
But so they try to keep them small so that they can really get some intervention taking place in small environments, small group. It's just approved. There's guidelines and best practice that the United Way have come up with collaboration with us, and it's been a very successful program for many kids.
Any others? Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Item 4, canceling the special board meeting that was originally scheduled for March 11th, 2015. Don't really have to hear too much about that, right? On the recommendation of the superintendent, do I hear a motion to do that?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Item 5, change the date of the April board meeting from Wednesday, April 15th to Tuesday, April 14th, same time, same place. No discussion on that one? Okay. Do I hear a motion to do that?
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
The 15th was my birthday. Are you going to surprise me with something in that day?
Oh, you blew the whole
Oh, shucks. Okay, I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Item 6, recognition of indoor track as a Canfield High School non-OHSAA interscholastic program.
We're recommending for that approval tonight. It's just, again, another way for our youngsters to get some out-of-season training, extra work, and we currently do not have and don't anticipate having a supplemental for that position. But this is definitely a way to get some kids in and to keep them working in that off-season.
On the recommendation of the superintendent, do I hear a motion to approve the indoor track?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
We've always had kids in indoor track. It just hasn't been necessarily organized. They came in as individuals.
Where does
So
this
I think it'd
take
be
place?
better if it was organized. It'd be nice for the kids. Where does it take place?
I mean, where do we practice?
You can, it's amazing what you can do in those hallways.
Right.
Stairs, and bleachers.
All-weather track?
Yeah.
well.
These kids can get outside, they get outside. And they're running quite a bit. So it's not necessarily all indoors.
What's the season for that?
It's usually now, right up until the start of the season in the spring. It's very similar to, just like Mr. Fry said, you get kids running, and if they don't have a program, there's really not a lot of improvement there. But if they get on a program, get organized, they really see the fruits of their labor when the spring comes. Very similar to a baseball and softball facility indoors. We're lucky to have now these youngsters. We're heating the halls, so let them run.
Will our kids go down to the Watts Center against Penn State?
They can.
They have
They
kids
can.
all over the place.
They can travel. Since it's not an OHSAA program, they can enter these and not have any problems with the powers to be.
So they can run concurrently with the regular track team.
No, it's be-
No, this is preseason.
It'll be over by then.
It'll be over by then.
Yes.
All right,
You can't do multiple.
okay. Roll call?
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend the approval of an out-of-state and/or overnight field trips. That's your exhibit number 6, CHS robotics team, to Pittsburgh Regional Tournament. That's in California, PA, March 5th through the 7th this year, providing lodging is covered by an outside source.
I hear a motion for recommendation of the superintendent to approve the out-of-state and overnight field trips.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? No discussion, roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
It does a heart good to see this program start to blossom. And this is really giving kids an opportunity to get together and share some like mindsets and creativity, and it's just another avenue to have participation. Again, like our principals say, that makes this place special. And it's good to see it blossom. And the support that they receive from community and outside agencies is greatly appreciated. I'd like to recommend and adopt the Resolution 83-2015, establishing public hearing date of March 18, 2015 at 6 p.m. concerning reemployment of retirees. That's your exhibit number 7.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, do I hear a motion to adopt Resolution 83, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
This is a process. You have to first, obviously, we have staff members that apply for retirement, and then you have to have a hearing to allow the process to continue on. This hearing, we will not be recommending any retiree hires at that point to you folks. This is, again, just making sure the process is carried out.
This is state law?
It is.
If there are other people that choose this avenue from this point forward, would there be another hearing date?
Every time, yeah. There's a specific guideline from when you resign, how many days to the hearing, and then how many days to any board action. So there's a specific guideline that you have to do this process in. Yes.
Roll call?
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. Item number 9?
Number 9, recommend the approval of a change order high school PA system. That's the sound column systems, and that's for $6,513.
Do I hear a motion to approve the change order for the high school PA system? Second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
You know, Mr. Bova, you and I have been for this for a long, long time.
I
Finally,
know.
the entire school is covered if there's an announcement. And that's just for safety's sake. That's just, it's something that I feel really good about myself.
Good.
I would like to request it to be tabled. Can we do that?
I actually invited, and he is here tonight, architect, if you wanted to have any questions or concerns brought forward.
Why do you need this money?
Good question. I know change orders are a dirty word in business, but change orders are always a necessity for contract modifications. When we designed the system, obviously we had a 60-plus-year-old system, and we obviously recognized that the head-end unit had to be replaced and all the speaker components. But we saw the opportunity to save the district upwards of possibly $100,000 by removing all the cabling. But we didn't know necessarily how all the cabling, what the integrity and continuity of it was. So we actually anticipated this type of a situation by having a $5,000 contingency in our budget for this type of situation, and also by having unit costs in our bidding for these items. So we anticipated items that you may want to add to the system, like speakers, handsets, things like that, and also cabling. So we actually had the contractors, when they submitted their bids, submit costs on the components of the system, so that if this situation arose, we would already have those costs identified. We just had to identify the quantity that was involved. So what happened was when they connected all the new speakers, the intent of the new system is to be able to communicate individually to each room. And what happened was there are sections of the school, if I can outline them on this chart here, so you can see these particular rooms are all grouped on one cable so that they can't make communications to one single room. When they try to communicate, they get 4 rooms or 6 rooms. So we found out that those particular rooms are apparently spliced off of other speakers. The adjacent room is rooms were converted to classrooms or changed to different uses. So those rooms did not have direct home runs back to the head-end console. So we have to add additional cable to make direct communications with each individual room so that the office can communicate directly with one individual room. And where this really becomes important is we've been a phase 2 that I think you may be implementing sometime in the near future, which are call buttons for emergencies and things like that, where if there's a situation in a room, that room could push a call button. It opens up communication between the room and the office or any other handset that's dedicated for that purpose. So if we don't have that direct connection from individual rooms back to the console, you don't have that capability to have that individual communication. So the reason for that is because the old wiring from when the school was built did not have a home run to each individual room. So again, we anticipated it. We just didn't know where they existed until we had the contractor come in and test each individual class and find out that when they tried to communicate with one room, they actually were communicating with 4 or 6 rooms. The other issue is the hallways are all piggyback one after another, and what happens is you have a signal loss. So the hallways have very low volume because you're not driving enough power through that cable to power somewhere upwards of 12 to 16 speakers in some of the hallways. So we're breaking those up into smaller components that will have more amplification to those speakers. Does that make sense?
As I look at this is all new building. This is
Right.
this
It's not
was
the
done in
original.
2002. This is not part of the original. So when they did it in 2002, they didn't do it.
That's really what it was.
What did they do? Just jerry-rig it at that
They
point?
took the nearest speaker and they just spliced off of it and ran to the new rooms.
Okay.
So that's how it happened.
Jerry would be a good idea.
Well, it is all new, additional construction to the
additional,
existing
Jerry.
building. Yeah.
And I don't know if I made it clear, but Tom is architect of this project. He's not with Soundcom, so he is
Oh, sorry.
definitely working
He works for us.
Yes.
Matter of fact, when they submitted their first proposal on this, their proposal was about $9,000, and we reviewed it and really checked all the costs and negotiated the cost down to $6,500.
But did you review the contract, and the contract says they can go ahead and
Yeah,
charge more?
This was not part of their base scope of work because no one had the knowledge that this existed. The school district didn't inform us that. I don't think you ever communicated individually with one room at a time.
We did.
So there was no way to know that. When they made a PA announcement, it went out to the whole building, and the new system's intent is to be able to communicate individually with rooms. So no one had any way to know this unless someone came in and spent dozens of hours testing all the wires initially, which would have been a cost. So either way, the cost would have been in testing and identifying it for the bid documents. We're finding out later it's actually cheaper to do it this way.
Where are all those wires?
In the ceilings.
In the ceiling, so you'd have to pull out all the.
They actually, they did already run some new cabling for the.
I mean, in order to find this out, you would have to pull out a whole lot of ceiling tile to run all this down.
Even at that, I don't know that you could have traced each wire. You would have had to have gone to your console, which was a 60-year-old unit, and tried to communicate to each individual room and have someone in that room test to see if that, was, first of all, making communication to just that room and if it was clear. So in essence, we did not know what the continuity and integrity of all the cabling was.
Tom, in your experiences, have you ever run into something like this in
It's
another
very
location?
common in this whole of the building.
Yeah.
When you see new buildings constructed and you go into these technology closets, you see thousands of miles of cabling and you wonder how it's all managed, and it's all very neatly intertwined and labeled, and it's amazing that someone can spend all those hours making sure that one of those 3,000 cables goes exactly where it's supposed to go. So,
Nancy, I also, just to clarify, I think Tom is here because this board recommended to our superintendent that we have project managers on, sizable construction. And I believe that he's our project manager on this, is that correct?
And also, if you recall, change orders, especially when you're talking about thousands of dollars here, not enormous, but definitely enough. We wanted you folks to be aware of it, not just have the superintendent or someone sign off and allow the project to go on. We wanted to update you.
This is $6,500. It's a change order. Change orders, as you say, are distasteful, and we've had our full of them. Can you say for sure now that we're done? This is it?
This project is probably 95% complete, and I can't imagine what else we could possibly find. Everything is almost operational. We're still waiting on the software to be able to program all of the components so that the district can now do all their bell schedules and things like that. That should be in any day. Other than that, it's just a matter of correcting this issue.
I can echo the same words that Mr. Fry gave you, and Mr. Fry and I both worked at the high school, and we know the limitations of the PA system and how important they are, how essential they are to the safety of the students, and that was our main concern. And I could see where you'd have to go into an individual room if you were going to put in a panic button or something like that would go back, and instead of a panic button coming back and saying it's in this region, at least you knew it was in that specific room. It's very important.
If we have an intruder, this is just, to me, it's just student safety. When this all comes down to kids' safety, now, we may never have one. But then again, you look around the country, and if we do, this comes down to student safety.
When you walk into a room, or you're talking about a possible phase 2 with call buttons, is the wiring in place for that? Does it use the same kind of wiring we're talking about
It's
now?
very similar, but it doesn't extend to wherever that call button would be located. What it would entail is you have your speaker either in the ceiling or on a wall plate. We would have to run another two pair of copper cable from the speaker to that call button so that it can then send the signal through that cabling all the way back to the head end.
But it doesn't have to be run from the console?
No, just within the room.
And by the way, the console's 49 years old, because I was the first class here in 1966, so it's not 60 years old. Let's clarify that.
49, 60, that's...
You broke it.
Well, I'd put it in.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like?
No, you can have it.
Does that answer your question?
You still want, you have that option to put that out there. You want to ask
To
for it.
table it, you mean? Yeah, let's do that. We're going to table it.
Well, you can ask for it.
You can ask
Oh,
for
can I
table.
ask for that?
I have a motion to table this. Do I have a second?
Excuse me, can I make one more comment?
Sure.
If this isn't enacted upon now, it's, we can close out the project and it won't be completed, then there may be some additional cost to have a contractor come back to do this work, to remobilize, just something to think about.
I'm asking again for a second. And a third time for a second. I think that motion's on.
That's fine.
With all due respect, we need to move forward.
That's fine. I just wanted somebody to look at the contract and, our attorney, but...
Yeah. I'm not happy about, the change order, and I guess these things happen, but I also know how important this is.
But have we answered Nancy's question about the contract being looked at? Have we looked at it, and this is a justifiable change?
We have
order? Is the
reviewed it in
question.
the central office to say that legal counsel has.
No, but you've looked at it.
Yes.
And you've decided this is a necessary piece to complete this.
There's a piece in the contract that I could look at and review and state that it mentions that there could be some additional wiring footage and speaker systems that could drive this cost up. Like Tom said, until you get up in those ceilings, you don't know the type of wiring that would be necessary for that to happen. So to say, Tom, central office looked at it, yes, and confident, that's why it's on your agenda tonight.
And the question about the potential lack of $100,000 expense was based on what? I missed that.
I'm sorry. Basically, speaker cabling is not like data cabling where it becomes antiquated. Speaker cabling, as long as the copper conductors are intact and continuous, they can last 100 years, just like in your home wiring. So audio signals can travel on old cabling. So it was a good gamble to say, let's save the district $100,000 and not replace all the cabling. Let's try to reuse as much as possible and hope that there are no issues. And again, we plan for the issues by having the unit costs and the $5,000 contingency in the budget. So, there's absolutely nothing else we could have done except recommend that you hire someone and pay them $5,000 or $6,000 to come in and test the system before we bid it.
But you're talking about the $100,000 expense would have been if we had to replace all the cable for the 49-year-old cable.
Tom, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm questioning what was done in 2002. I just feel that it wasn't done right, and I know you didn't have anything to do with it.
Absolutely it wasn't. I mean, someone decided that it was easy to provide PA communications to those rooms just by going up and finding a speaker that's close and pairing a piece of cable off and then daisy changing it to the new room. So you're absolutely right. That's not the way it should have been done.
That's one of the things that this board is really emphasizing is to do it once and do it right. So we're trying to fix this problem.
I guess if the intent wasn't to have that individual communication with the 49-year-old system, it probably was a feasible way to do it. It provided a simple and cost-effective way to give PA access to those rooms, but now it's an issue.
But it actually looked like the 49-year-old system was done correctly, that the piece in 2002 when the building was added on, every room you had highlighted was because the auditorium turned, we added the front section, we added a section of classrooms on the athletic side. So everything that was wrong was done during the addition, not the original.
And even the other remodeling that was done in 1974 was done correctly. It was the 2002 that was not.
Another reason why we have trained eyes hired to keep track of folks and make sure it's done correctly. That's why Tom's on board here.
One more question. So you know our contract. This is the only way we can finish this with this amount of money, right?
Absolutely is.
Okay, so you're going to guarantee that contract is that way,
Yes.
that we pay that?
Yeah. We did the bid document, so we know how it was written, and we know what the scope of work was.
Okay.
The scope of work could not have included guessing what speaker wiring wasn't, all over the back. So, we feel that we do owe that to the contractor, because no one could have anticipated it.
Any more discussion?
It's just like digging. How do you know what's underground? How do you know what's in the ceiling? You just don't.
And there could have been cables that were pinched or crushed by other work over the years. You could have rodents like in homes that chew through the insulation and damage something. So there are those situations. And again, that's why we had that unit cost for the cabling. And it was a good thing we did that because we were able to control that cost.
I have one more question. Do we have sirens? Because, we're getting close to spring, and one thing is the system principal scared the hell out of me was a tornado. And do you have a siren that you could put out that's on part of that PA system to notify people if there's a tornado
It's
in the area?
programmable to either have an audio message or a signal. I wouldn't call it a siren, but it could be a distinct signal that could be
distinct signal,
broadcast.
yeah.
And we also have added exterior speakers too, so that anyone outside of the building can also hear either announcements or emergency calls. Kind of what we want.
If their class is outside, they can still be notified.
Yeah.
It's not only tornado, it's fire, it's a lot of issues.
Anything else?
And I don't think that's a question. I know we all agree that we needed this system. It's very fair to question a change order, especially the newness of us being in our opinion, possibly burn.
We have sour taste in our mouth. Do I have a motion to approve the change order as presented by the superintendent?
We
We
already
have.
have those.
You got
We
it?
had that?
Yes.
And we had a second?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend the acceptance of the donations at your exhibit number 8, totaling over to $28,085.37.
Do I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to accept the donations as are presented in Exhibit 8?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Third. Third.
Somebody.
Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasich?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
Can I point out a couple there, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Again, PTO stepping forward. I think Mr. Maroney mentioned this, 10 smart boards at Hilltop. The amount of technology that we're trying to update in the schools, I know some folks might think, well, these smart boards aren't all done yet. A lot of work goes into it and a lot of technology in each of our buildings, and our guys are working as hard as they can.
Plus training.
Plus training involved, and there's going to be training this Friday for all the new staff. And then one other, Senefani Foundation, once again, stepping forward with $15,000 there. That's new technology in the Senefani Center. So we're going to be able to tap into many more opportunities for online courses. So,
Down the bottom, now that you're mentioning it, the last donation, is there some...
Is there a limit to it?
Well, no, but is there some legality that's going to be required to accept that
As
building?
soon as the building is complete,
Okay.
we are definitely going to bring that to you folks for approval to accept that.
So what did we just accept? I'm sorry to say that we voted.
The complex itself.
Okay.
Okay, and then I can tell you other donations. I asked for a list. We asked for a list so that you folks know exactly who's donating.
So down the road, there'll be a much more specific...
Much more detailed.
Okay, thank you.
You know, it's just one more thing to do, but it would really be nice if someday we could sit down and really have a total of all the donations, because it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
For that complex,
No,
for that
just
building?
for everything.
Oh.
As we go along, the money that's been given by our community.
You know what we accept every month? Yes. You got a couple items?
I ran a total for calendar year 2014, $172,000.
$172,000.
Cash donations, so,
That's not, doesn't include in-kind or anything?
no. That's strictly cash donations.
That's from when?
Calendar 2014.
2014. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
Okay, item 11, superintendent's update.
I'd just like to highlight a couple areas for you. Our governor's office decided to come out with his biennial budget, and I say his biennial budget. It's not concrete yet. It's not in stone. I would recommend that residents of this community step forward and let folks know that how displeased they should be, and that they are, with the direction of how not our legislators, because we have some folks that really support not only public education but our school system as a whole. But I would question what's happening. I will say this, and I know we have press here tonight. I thank Denise Dick because she called, and I was on the phone for several minutes with her, and I thanked her for not putting everything in quotations in the paper, because I got a little heated, and again, it was the nuance of it was right hot off the press, and then somebody wants to take a quote from you. You know, our school system's going to lose over $300,000 over the next 2 years if this biennial budget goes through. Well over 300, pushing 400,000. And what message does that send to our folks? And we're doing a little research here trying to find out high-performing districts and how this biennial budget affects them. And I put us in that category. When you have a school system that's in the top 40 at this point in the state and going up, and You have a community that has stepped forward over a year ago with the passage of a 5.9 levy, with how well our kids and staff and everybody is working to make sure that our youngsters, by the time they graduate, are ready to go into the workforce, college career, wherever they choose to go. And this is another way to show support for success. This is not showing support for success. I won't degrade or minimize the support that a governor or a legislature wants to give for anyone. So if anybody in this biennial budget receives money, that's great, good for them. But why we continue to allow this to happen, and again, come back, and now we have to rework our numbers to try to actually know where we're headed. It's a shame. It's a shame. And that's not a political statement. That's just what we're noticing. This is fact.
So I'd like to suggest that as a member of the Communications Committee, that I'm sure our committee would be happy to take on this project as working in conjunction with you to get the right information out. I know one of the things that has frustrated me for years, and I don't think our parents or community is aware of the fact that even though the state gives us theoretically $6,000 a year, we only collect $2,000 of that because we make too much money, housing values are too high, everything. But the most important thing to me, and we've had conversation with Senator Schiavone about this, is if a child leaves this district for whatever reason to go to South Range or anything else, we send that $4,000 that goes with him out of our pockets. And I don't think people understand that. And I really think that it's time to, call to task, not just the governor by us, but by the other districts that are experiencing the same thing. And I'm sure there's at least, what would you say, 30, 40 districts that are having the same issue of money coming out of the community.
Oh, yeah.
Our people passed a levy for that money to stay here to help educate our children and not to send it somewhere else. So with your permission, I'd like to take that to the Communications Committee next week, and I recommend
educating the public is on us.
Yeah, well, yes.
And that is true, and we need to do better at that. Because if there's no way that any change can happen without the masses. It cannot just be, and this is not sour grapes. I don't want it to sound that way. This is just our reality right now. And it's difficult to project anything when this type of activity continues to happen.
People have questioned me in the past about, the comments that the state lottery funds, do they all go to the school? Yes, they do. And I remember Chuck Swindler, the former superintendent of Western Reserve, had a wonderful presentation about this, and he'd have dollar bills that represented certain things, and have 9 people standing there with, dollar bills. This is internal, external funds, so and so. And he'd say to the first person, here's $3. This is your portion of the lottery money. We got our portion of it, no question. But then what you didn't notice is when he walked down the end of the line and he took away 5 $1 bills. So all the money from the lottery went into our system, but then the state government took out more than came in. And these are the things that, I fault us to a degree, that we haven't really challenged. And I think it's time to step up. I'm tired of the system. I don't, as you said, don't fault Youngstown, and God bless them. It takes them $23,000 a student to educate. I'm not sure what the other districts are doing with the additional funds they're going to get, but it's people like us that have to give up all the time, and yet we still turn out top-notch students for, less and less.
Support
one thing,
success.
Just as a parent, I think it's important, and you talk about it's your charge to educate the parents, and the Communication Committee can do that as a good catalyst, but the parents are wondering, what can we do? And to be able to educate the parents on, this is who you contact, this is what you need to do, this is how you do it. Because I'm sure all of you have seen and know that the parents are very involved and to have a very strong voice when there are things that they don't necessarily agree with. So
You want to take a bus ride?
being able to do that, but being able to do that and to tell us what to do, we can do as much research as we can and do things on our own, but to have a united front as a community, maybe under that communication committee, I think it's going to be important. So if in fact you are as enthusiastic about it, to get that information out to the parents, because yes, you as a board can do things, but if you have another 2,000 parents behind you, I think it makes it a lot more impactful.
What works, and I've seen it with the parochial schools and the charter schools, the parents literally show up in Columbus. And I think we are actually taking this to other school districts within Mahoning County. And then we've had some conversation about taking it to the Ohio School Boards Association meeting in the spring and actually setting a date where we can get on a bus and we can go down, we'll show up on the front lawn.
But get it out to the parents
Well,
early. And there
five
are,
of us can't do it.
Right, and there are several catalysts to do that, and I'm sure many of you are aware of some of the things on Facebook that the Canfield parents, whatever information is on there, but to get that information out to the parents on what to do and how to do it effectively versus I'm just going to send a letter to the governor, and that's going to go to deaf ears.
I'll tell you what, we'll take your charge under advisement, and we'll come up with a plan that will meet what you're asking us to do to, number one, inform the entire community, inform specifically the parents, and three, come up with action steps to do something about it.
Because we can rally behind it.
Good. It's time.
Yeah, I agree.
So again, sorry to get in that.
Go ahead, push the button again.
But it hurts because it's. Well, I won't go where I was going to go.
How much do we spend per student per year to educate in this district?
Well, this year's going to change a little bit because of all-day kindergarten, which is just right around $8,800 per student.
So we'll say $9,000 versus, I think you quoted 23, but I think it's more like 21.
I've heard 23 too many times.
They're getting, again,
it's a statement of fact.
It is.
Money doesn't make a good educational system. It's a community that makes a good educational system.
Well, if you look at all that levy information we put out, it's specifically stated on there where we fell within that range, and we were nowhere close to even the halfway mark.
I will say where I was
Go ahead.
When you think about this, I mean, we have legislators in this area, and they lobby for us, and they're there, and zero balance would be great. Just don't take more away. We're not asking for more money for folks. We know there's not going to be a chariot riding down the road and dropping off a bag of money for us. We know that's not going to happen. I'm seriously, I would like to take a look to see what areas and who represents them and how those dollars followed out of the State House. And I would have to venture a guess that you can probably guarantee the school systems who are represented where that falls, we'll just say. But
Are you implying it yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to update us on before we get in?
There's some others here that probably just get my blood.
I would like to make one. I'd like to make one public comment. This town tends to be vote Republican when it comes time for elections, but there is no stronger supporter for us and for education than Democrat Joe Schiavone. And he is amazing. Every time we've called him, he's been here. I texted him this week about a meeting. He said, just call my office and schedule it. He's trying to make some of these changes now. And he has been a tremendous asset to us. I don't see him as being a D after his name. I see him as being a very concerned legislator who is concerned about his community. And he's done a tremendous job and will continue to do so.
Anything else in the superintendent's update?
Not at this time, thank you.
Move on to others. Anybody want to say anything? Anybody bringing any information from the committees that they were assigned, liaisons?
There is one other thing. I'm sorry. And this is definitely a positive. As you know, new library being built right around the corner here. There's a great way for folks, if you're interested in supporting that, they're still looking for fundraising. And there's an activity going on tomorrow evening at A La Carte Catering. We sent an all email out to all the staff and you folks, and just wanted to let the people know here tonight that, again, at A La Carte, starting at 5:30, hors d'oeuvres, it says heavy hors d'oeuvres. I don't know what that means. Chocolate desserts, raffles, cash, I can say this, cash bar. But this is an opportunity to get behind the library.
And the entertainment's by two father-son Canfield graduates.
It's not on here.
Nils Johnson and Nils Peter Johnson.
Very nice. Very nice. So I'm looking forward to having a bite to eat of heavy hors d'oeuvres tomorrow night. So if anybody else is interested. So.
Now you really are done?
I'm done. Over.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to consider the employment of a public employee.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Bova?
Yes. All of you have your scat.
Mr. Tulia, we didn't have any reports, right, for learning and teaching?